If the Australian Electoral Commission didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. At the last federal election, the AEC threatened me with fines and even prison time for the crime of not having an authorisation statement at the end of a video that I'd uploaded before I ever became a candidate. They've also taken Craig Kelly to court over font size and generally made a nuisance of themselves for all kinds of petty alleged breaches of the Electoral Act. But now, the Labor Party are committing what I consider to be a pretty big, blatant breach of the Electoral Act, in my opinion, and the AEC are silent. The hypocrisy is deafening, and the double standards are showing. My name is Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to make sense of the world around you as it loses its freaking mind. And this AEC double standard matters because when it comes to elections, public confidence and the impartiality of the Electoral Commission is crucial. Just look at what happened in the US when the loser of an election questioned the integrity of that election. No, I'm not talking about Donald Trump in 2020. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton after her 2016 loss to Trump, after which she called the election stolen. She called Trump an illegitimate president, and as recently as 2020, she said that the election was not on the level. Is it any wonder, with that kind of rhetoric from Hillary, that Trump was able to go on to publicly question the 2020 results, and many people, including me, suspect that there was fraud in the 2020 elections, and pretty much nothing will convince us otherwise. That's what happens when the public can see things that look suspicious, but the authorities don't act. And that is what is happening right now in Australia because of the AEC and their double standards. I thought I was losing my freaky mind when I saw, once again, Federal Minister for the Environment and Water, Tanya Plibersek, campaigning with volunteers dressed in purple. I say once again because she did it already in 2019 and did it again for the Voice referendum. More on that in a minute. But first, this immediately raises two huge questions. The first one is, why isn't she campaigning in Labor colours? Red. What's wrong with the Labor brand that she doesn't want to be associated with it? Come to think of it, why is Tanya Plibersek campaigning at all? She holds her seat with literally 2/3 of the vote on a two-party preferred basis from the Greens candidate. Her margin over her nearest opponent is literally larger than the total number of votes that her opponent got. Why is she campaigning? Well, perhaps that can be passed off as supporting the Senate candidates where they're hoping to make some inroads. Let's just let that one pass us by. But the real question remains, if she's going to campaign, why are her volunteers not wearing Labor Party red, but are in fact wearing Australian Electoral Commission purple? Now, you need a bit of background here to understand just how serious this actually is. Under Section 329 of the Commonwealth Electoral Act, you cannot do, print, or distribute anything that might mislead or deceive an elector in relation to the casting of a vote. And using the colour of our neutral Australian Electoral Commission as your colour when campaigning could reasonably lead to the risk that a voter might think that they're talking to an unbiased AEC volunteer when in fact they're being misled by a Tanya Plibersek volunteer. And that's not just my opinion. Remember during the Voice to Parliament campaign when the Yes campaign used the exact same purple as the AEC on their Vote Yes signs. Here's a picture. It's literally the exact same shade as the polling booth sign, but it says Vote Yes. The AEC themselves issued a guidance saying that the use of the colour purple itself is not prohibited, but it should absolutely not be used in a way that could be confused for AEC communication. If this was to occur, depending on the exact circumstances, it could be a breach of Section 329 of the Electoral Act. Now, that's the Electoral Act section that I showed you a moment ago, and it comes with potential prison time for a breach. The AEC are warning in this guidance from the Voice campaign that continued use of purple in a way which could mislead electors is potentially a crime worthy of prison. And Tanya Plibersek cannot claim ignorance here. Her volunteers were in purple when campaigning for the Voice, and they would most definitely have heard about that warning from the AEC. Notice they're not campaigning in just any old purple. This is not a lilac or a fuchsia or a lavender. This is a deep, rich purple, exactly like, exactly like the AEC's purple. This has the appearance, to me, of seeking to deceive. That's what it looks like to me. A sitting member of the government and a senior member of the Labor Party appears to me to have made a conscious decision not to campaign under their Labor Party colours, and decided very specifically, very much on purpose, to campaign in a colour that is practically identical to the AEC's purple. And before you say, well, it's just the t-shirts, here is an AEC volunteer t-shirt. And here's Tanya's volunteers. If you were a random punter wandering up to a polling booth looking for some unbiased information, would you spot the difference? You'd have to read the shirt, and let's be honest, not everyone would. What if this hypothetical voter, what if English was their second language? What if they were in a hurry? There's not only the potential to deceive, but in my personal opinion, this looks like they intended to deceive. And the AEC are silent. Now, the AEC have a long history of taking candidates to court for alleged infringements against the Electoral Act, which, in my opinion, are far less serious than this one. For example, they threatened action against me for that original Marbles video, where I explained how preferential voting worked. I wasn't telling people to vote for me because I hadn't actually decided even that I was going to run yet. And yet, after I announced that I was running, they wanted me to put an authorization statement on the end of that video because apparently having my name on the TV in the background and my face on it and me stating to the viewers that my name is Topher Field, the AEC still claimed that it needed a statement at the end saying that I'm Topher Field. I mentioned Craig Kelly earlier. They actually took him all the way to court over the font size of the authorization statement on some of his signs. Because, without people reading that authorization statement, then maybe they wouldn't have realized that that big yellow sign with Craig's face on it was a sign by Craig Kelly and his party telling you to vote for Craig Kelly and his party. It was thrown out in court, of course. There was no possibility of mistaken identity in either my video or in Craig Kelly's corflutes, but there very much is a risk of mistaken identity in Tanya Plibersek's Purple Volunteers. Now, the AEC have been quick and aggressive when it comes to taking action against the smaller parties and the smaller candidates who are taking the fight to the majors. But when it comes to the majors themselves, well, we know that the AEC have been informed about Tanya and her purple shirts because when I posted that photo to my social media a few days ago, Senator Ralph Babette responded, saying that his lawyers would be in touch with the AEC directly. Now, I spoke with Senator Babette on the phone immediately before I started filming this, and as of the time of recording, the AEC have not responded at all, despite more than 48 hours having passed so far. Complete silence. Now, if that changes, I will be sure to let you know via my social media channels. You can follow me via @TopherField on all the major platforms. But as of the time of recording, as I sit here right now, the AEC have shown no interest whatsoever in the fact that a senior member of the Australian government appears to be ignoring their guidance on the use of colours and appears to be risking being in breach of the Electoral Act. This isn't just some petty, cheap shot at a politician that I don't like. This cuts to the heart of electoral integrity and whether or not the public can actually trust that the AEC are impartial. As of right now, the AEC's double standards are showing. Their impartiality and integrity are very much in doubt. I will keep you updated if that changes on my social media pages, but in the meantime, do not forget that even in our free liberal democracy of Australia, boy, it's good to be king, or the Minister for the Environment. My name's Topher, this is the Topher Project, and I help people like you to make sense of the world as it changes around you. You can follow all of my work via @TopherField on all of the socials, and you can support my work by buying my books, Good People Break Bad Laws, which is all about civil disobedience in the modern age, especially in this post-COVID world, and Good Christians Break Bad Laws, which is all about the theology of civil disobedience. And I argue in this book that according to the Bible, Christians should be very quick to defy civil authorities when those civil authorities overstep their God-given boundaries. And of course, you can buy my t-shirts, my hoodies, or copies of my multi-award-winning documentary, Battleground Melbourne, which is all about the protest movement against the COVID lockdowns as my home city of Melbourne became the most locked down city on earth. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. If this kind of content is good for you, then please like, comment, subscribe, buy some merch because I am 100% viewer supported. And finally, YouTube think that you would be interested in this video of mine, so why not check it out while you're here? I'll see you in the next one.